Okay,
Hey, Rak, how's it going?
it's going really well, Ben. Thank you. It's a mysterious pleasure to be connecting with you. I never imagined that our destinies would entwine like the vine, but they have, and there's some interesting things bringing us together.
Yeah, totally. Well, we just connected. How did we just connect? I've actually just forgotten how we just ended up.
Through the
Oh, yeah,
net, you know, I saw you on Twitter. You did a few Twitters about your album, and I was
that's right.
doing the same promo for my forthcoming film, Aya
Yeah,
Awakenings.
yeah, and so I really wanted to I just saw the movie and found it very moving and I mean, it is a time when ayahuasca is obviously sort of taking center stage a little bit in the mainstream, and I think you sort of both embraced that, but and kept a watchful eye on sort of what that means for consciousness and the experience of the indigenous cultures. And I guess I wanted to ask you about what the motivating force was in wanting to make a movie out of these experiences that you'd had.
Well, I must say, I never intended to make a movie about it, and I first went to Peru in 2006 as a journalist, but I guess I was following my own spiritual path as well. And I really documented my experiences there and what was happening with the indigenous cultures and this culture clash between, the Western uptake of this, what I call the global shamanic, revival and indigenous spirituality. And I really felt like the book that came from that Aya Shamanic Odyssey was like my love song to the world. There was so many very personal but very archetypal experiences in there, and it was not just my sort of memoir. It was a snapshot of a generation coming of age and reclaiming, I guess, this connection with the earth through plant sacraments like ayahuasca, and with this lineage attached to it with the South American shamans or curanderos. And so when the opportunity came with the co-director of the film, Tim Parrish, to work on it, it sort of came out of our American book tour in 2009, and him doing VJ work to my spoken word excerpts from the book. And it's just evolved from that journey into this film where we've crowdsourced an amazing amount of footage from the ayahuasca community. And it's really this labor of love yet again, and we've tried to be very integral in keeping the narrative drive of the book, so it really anchors those original experiences in the jungle, which were freshly minted at the time, into the book and now into the film, to retain that integrity of what the experience is all about.
Amazing, and it's coming out initially in Australia, and then you're going to tour with it around the States.
That's the plan. We're on a very grassroots sort of budget, but we're releasing the film around Australia this month at the end of January 2013, January 30th in Melbourne it premieres, and 5 cities around Australia through to March, and then hopefully, it's screening and premiering at the MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, a conference in California, in Oakland, in April 18, 2013, and we would love to then take it on tour throughout the rest of America and help promote not just the film but the culture. And it seems really critical at this point in time with ayahuasca coming into the public consciousness and going more mainstream. My shorthand for it is there's been like 2 or 3 waves of Western contact with these plant entheogens, all the way back to William Burroughs in the 1950s, to this wave throughout the 80s and early 90s of first wavers. And I guess I was maybe in the second wave, and a lot of the second wavers and first wavers have come back into the Western culture and have taken root, and those seeds are now helping anchor ayahuasca and other plant medicines into the Western mind frame. And so this is sort of the third wave, and so I think it's really important this film also helps be a springboard to discuss these issues of how ayahuasca is responsibly integrated into Western culture.
And when did you start? I only have listened to one, but I checked out your podcast, in a Perfect World.
Yep.
Today I listened to the Dennis McKenna interview about his book. Was it called Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss?
That's right. That was his term for, yep.
Yeah, and I loved it. And so when, in the sort of chronology of all this work you were doing around consciousness, did you begin doing the podcast?
I started the podcast after coming back from Burning Man in 2009 at the tail end of the Aya Shamanic Odyssey book tour, when I'd done so much I completely burnt out as a sort of one-man publishing empire. And I was like, well, I'm just going to record basically my friends and other people that sort of come into my, environment and sphere of influence, I guess, around Byron Bay, where I live in Australia. And I really wanted to sort of keep up the journalistic work I'd been doing, but writing a book took, basically 2 to 3 years of my life. And then doing articles takes a long time as well. And so I wanted to make it more immediate and really just talk to people and have these type of conversations like I'm having with you and get it out there into the internet, into the public domain, and just continue that conversation and let things evolve and see what happens. And so in a perfect world, it's been going for over 3 years, and it's really had the some amazing guest people and speakers on there, and hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, I mean, do you have a sense of how many hits you're getting on it, or how many people are?
It's quite healthy. It's quite good. I've got people all over the world, mainly North America, and it's still, I guess, in some senses, maybe countercultural, or it's hard to say because there's this bleeding edge where what was 10 years ago underground is now sort of commodified and appropriated by advertising, and what's cool in the mainstream. There's the bleeding edge. And so a lot of these issues and a lot of these things, and my podcast get out to quite a few people, that it's becoming more mainstream issues, even though they're, I guess, esoteric still. But they're issues, I think. Well, I was going to say,
sorry, the Skype delay.
Yeah.
What you're saying, it's interesting because it's a double-edged sword. Like, on one hand, obviously, there is the co-opting of these sort of, by nature, subversive issues that should rightfully remain subversive. But on the other hand, it really does broaden the palette of the type of work that can be digested by the mainstream, and it's very exciting. Like, I look at something like with the record I've made, one of the questions I keep coming up against is, who is this record for? And I keep saying, I don't know exactly, but I know there's going to be twice as many of them in 12 months' time, because you can just feel the type of people that are interested in having this conversation.
Definitely.
I don't know whether there's more people wanting to have it, but they're coming out of the closet.
Yeah.
And there's more people like just openly interested. Like Occupy was so amazing for that reason, because it was like all different types of people. It wasn't just our weirdo alternative friends. It was factory workers and nurses and teachers and people saying, actually, this society does need some kind of radical transformation. So I feel very optimistic about the ways in which that's kind of broadening.
Yeah, I do too, and it's interesting because culture sort of goes in spurts, and then it has this resistance and then acceptance, and things sort of make quantum leaps forward. And I think that underneath all the isms and what we're talking about here with ayahuasca and plant entheogens, it's not about the old paradigm of like the war on drugs or these recreational substances. It's really about this deep connection to the earth and to the medicines and to this earth-based spirituality that, when you sort of feel more connected or can feel your connection to the web of life or the way that things work, it's very much reclaiming our sense of indigenousness. It's reclaiming our ability to realize that we are all connected, and everything we do makes a difference and has an effect, and we can't continue that Western paradigm that's been going for a few thousand years that is been so debilitating to the earth and to ourselves. So it's not really about the substances per se, it's about what they connect us to. And so that, I believe, really is cutting edge. It is bleeding edge, and people are craving that. And I'm not saying, and I project this onto you, but I'm sure no one's saying, look, you need to do these things. What we're saying is that we've discovered these pathways that are on the rise, that are coming from indigenous cultures with a lineage that has been doing this for many thousands of years. And they're very effective and they work. And, they're also being retrofitted and they're being customized, and there's some issues of cultural appropriation or of commodification. And especially as Western culture integrates and promotes this idea of ayahuasca and other materials like that, these issues need to be discussed. But there really is a groundswell and an audience for these issues and what they represent underneath the substances themselves.
Yeah, and also that I feel like, in a way, ayahuasca at this moment in time is a vehicle for a whole series of other subtextual dialogues that we're having. And for me, the most important one is what role in our culture do amplified states of consciousness play? Because at the moment, they play no role that's acknowledged to any degree. But obviously, anyone that's interested in spirituality or social change or activism knows that all of these external changes that we're trying to manifest really stem from inner change. Maps, you mentioned the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, where I'm going to perform at their conference you're showing the movie at, and also I'm giving some of the 50% of the artist royalties to them, because I feel like what they're doing is very interestingly and very subversively legitimizing in a institutional sense a dialogue about what role can altered states of consciousness play in the health of our society, which is really exciting, I think.
Yeah, well, I think to turn that around, it's the suppression of the natural ability of consciousness to manifest on different levels that has caused so many illnesses. The curanderos of Peru, their name comes from like the Spanish to cure or to heal, and all the work that they do is about recognizing that there's a spirit or there's an energy within a body, and if that energy, like consciousness itself, is suppressed and only allowed a certain frequency to manifest on, whether that's 9 to 5, work ethic, beer, cigarettes, and alcohol, it's just toxins, and so much of the work with ayahuasca and doing the dieta and cleansing the body and being with other plants, and it's all about medicines, and it's about getting the body and the energy body back to baseline, back to what is really healthy. And the core, idea of dis-ease means to be not at ease, and so much of our kind of squatsy world out of balance has come from this war on consciousness that really has to end, because it's a war on the people.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Well, do you want to just take a second and tell people where they can follow you on Twitter and look at the website for the film and everything?
Sure, we've just got our website up. It's www.aya-awakenings.com, and we've got a Facebook page, Aya Awakenings, as well, and we've just got a Twitter page under Rak Razam. But we'll be doing some online social media reach outs and partnering with some different organisations with the tour as well, and would love to work with you as well, Ben. Hopefully we'll see you at the MAPS conference in April, and hopefully maybe even continue some tour dates throughout America after that as well.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm going to press stop on the recording and we'll chat for a minute longer.
Many thanks. Aloha.